So I'm excited. But Karina, I wanted to ask you about your work with victims of communism. If you could just share a little bit with our audience what you guys do. And you mentioned that you think this new Congress and White House will be supportive of your events or your efforts. What will that look like?
Sure. And look, um, Dave, we have to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. The people voted the president in. And so I think he's had 4 years to kind of decompress and get himself together. So we might see a new Trump approach, and we're definitely hopeful for that.
Hope
So,
springs eternal.
but for victims of communism, we are a bipartisan nonprofit based here in Washington, D.C. And our mission is to educate the public on the horrors of communism. As you know, this is an evil ideology. This is something that I have a personal connection to. I was born and raised in Soviet Ukraine, immigrated here when I was 8 years old with my mother and my grandparents. And I remember just how horrible it was in certain parts of our lives where we had people constantly watching us. We had rations for food. I remember my grandmother telling me when when I would go outside to play with my friends, this is at, 5, 6, 7 years old. Don't tell people anything about your family. Don't tell them what's going on in the house. If you come across any sort of quote unquote money that could be in the form of material goods or like a new pencil case, that would be questioned by the authorities. So this personal tie to communism is something that I want to ensure that America understands, especially the next generation, which is Generation Z. And the Victims of Communism Museum and Foundation have projected, we have done studies and surveys with this next generation, and about 30% of them, 30% sympathize with a socialist communist regime, which to me is extremely scary and is not something that America needs. And the reason why people come to this country, why they uproot their entire lives, why they risk their lives, risk their everything that they have, just to come here for freedom and opportunity. So the Victims of Communism Foundation does a fantastic job of educating policymakers. We work with embassy partners, we work with coalition partners to not only memorialize those who have suffered under this regime and give them, an opportunity to be recognized. We also are trying to ensure that this next generation understands just what slippery slope they are going down by aligning themselves with this regime. And so, Carrie, for your second question as to why having a majority in Congress would be beneficial to us, we just recently passed the Crucial Communism Teaching Act, which would allow states an opportunity to use our resources, our educational resources, to teach about communism in the school system. And I think that's where we're lacking. The majority of our kids, before they even go to college, they're already indoctrinated in the grade school and the high school levels. And so this is something that is a huge win for us. And having the majority in both the House and the Senate, and having the president being very supportive of this cause, I think is going to get us over that hump, and we'll get this bill signed.
Well, I think that a lot of people can confuse communism and authoritarianism, and I think a lot of people who are not necessarily buying into that philosophy overall lean or consider it, or maybe don't refute it as much because it gets down to feeling safe, and that's what people want to feel economically secure, and they want to feel safe. And that's why I think, even though crime soared under Trump and has gone down under Biden, though in fairness, that was because of COVID and COVID ending. But the border particularly, I think, led people to feel that they weren't safe. And I think Greg Abbott if I were going to give someone who gets the underrated assist to getting Trump reelected, it was he, because he, by sending migrants to these liberal cities, he nationalized the problem. So people said, you know what? If Eric Adams is complaining about it, if the teachers union loving mayor of Chicago is complaining about it, maybe this is a national problem. Maybe this just isn't something that people in Arizona and Texas are dealing with.